Welcome everybody. Now I'm going to talk to you about everything that sounds very wrong, but I've done some great changes. Now imagine me telling you that it took almost 60 million people to die for China to develop. In many ways, I'm telling you that the leader of China, Mao Zedong, killed almost 60-70 million Chinese people, his own people, for him to begin this industrialization or whatever he thought of, and today he's almost seen as a god in China. I don't make any sense of it. I'm going to tell you a lot of strange things like that. Japan. Japan seems like a country which obviously is very acclaimed for its health regime and how almost every person in that country lives more than 80 years. That's huge when you're comparing to this world where 50s and 60s and 70s, so many people die of premature aging and cardiac arrest and all of those sorts. Sounds great. But did you know that it is illegal in Japan to be fat? Now, in the times that we are living, fat shaming is a huge crime. We're trying to promote plus size models. Even big brands like Sabyasachi and everybody has plus size models. We're talking about not to have a lot more sensitive speech when it comes to addressing so-called fat people. So in that way, we are taught a lot of these new age concepts, which clearly Japan is violating all of this by saying that if you are fat, if you are above 40 and if you are obese, I am going to fine you and in fact maybe jail you as well. I am trying to ask myself a question that in one sense we are talking about, say, a country like China as this mega country with great economic and military might that is challenging the world to be this global superpower. But how did it all start? It started out because this person, Mao Zedong, the leader, thought that, you know what, I'm going to revolutionize, and he started killing people, and everybody who opposed him, he started silencing all the voices in the opposition and just started to rule in that sense. And from 100 years of humiliation, from that day till today, China is only saying up and up. Now, really, is that what it takes to be successful and to develop? After 100 years of humiliation, it's really that bad policies that Mao Zedong or some other dictator took it that is that what it takes to become this huge economic might that China has become? I'm also asking myself this question. Is it really being that cruel and mean to the people, telling and instilling in their heads that, you know what, you cannot be fat, you have no option but to be thin, otherwise I'm putting you on jail, otherwise you have to pay this so and so fine? Is it not bad for the mental health? Is it not being inhuman to another person? But on another note, they are making great change in healthcare system. Almost every big disease has got its cure, and the death rate is also very less, mortality rate is very less, and there is a huge life expectancy there. Sounds like a very big duality to me. Now recently this big question came into my head again, that is it really the hard line stance, being that very ruthless person in many ways, being that mean guy, bad guy, is that what it takes to be to make that larger change in the society or to make that big development in our country? Now last month the whole UK-Rwanda deal, basically what UK is doing is, this sounds pretty much like a film, okay? UK is saying that all the illegal immigrants in the UK, suppose say illegally you must have travelled from say India to UK, they are taking you and they are single-mindedly transporting you to this country called Rwanda, which is one of the poorest countries in the world, very underdeveloped, infamous for its crime rates, political instability, how it deals with LGBTQ society, very, very bad treatment to a lot of human right violations, are also, you hear about them all the time. So this particular person, you might be illegal refugee or illegal immigrant in UK, And doesn't matter where you come from, where you're going, doesn't matter to the UK. It is just taking you and transporting you to this very sad, underdeveloped country. Now it doesn't care. If the Rwanda government says that I don't want you, nah, doesn't matter. You have to get lost and find a way for yourself. UK is not taking your responsibility. Scary, right? I mean, so many times these illegal immigrants or these refugees are coming from really sad stories. I mean, if you remember the Afghanistan crisis and the Taliban effect on them, so many people had to flee the Taliban impact. Imagine you were born in Afghanistan, you were growing up in Afghanistan, Taliban attacks you, you're a young girl, and you are asked that you cannot be educated, you cannot study, you cannot live your life the way you want. So what is your option left? You're like, I'd rather die than live in this country. So I'm just finding my best route and getting out of this country. North Korea, can you imagine living in a country that bans laughing, that is almost everything that you do is a crime? You will flee, right? So a lot of these people are coming from really sad stories, war-torn countries, the Russia-Ukraine war. So many people are displaced. So many people are moving from one place to another. And these are huge issues that these people are dealing with. Now imagine the UK government saying that I don't care about your life, man. I don't give a damn. Just go to hell. And it's actually transporting you to hell. And then there's only a one-way ticket. There's no coming back. All of it sounds very scary. So, but at the same time, illegal immigrants is a huge problem. They are, in many ways, a lot of people do have an issue about how they contaminate the society. Rohingya crisis in our country is a best example. Why so many people, all of these illegal immigrants that come through Myanmar are always criticized in our country for polluting our environment, and our culture and really troubling our lives. Many people say that they should also be deported. Now, deporting is fine, but this feels a very hardline stance. Now, is hardline stance or in some ways, let's say, slightly questionable on morally and ethical grounds policies, is it what it takes to make that real big change in the world? I mean, Hitler tried to do that, but that ended up being in his own suicide. But not in the case of China or in the case of Japan. They're doing really, really well. So, I mean, if UK does the same thing, and if it's sending all of its illegal immigrants, forget about what is happening to the people, but will it solve the illegal immigrant issue that the entire world is suffering, Europe is suffering, UK is suffering? I don't know. Now, a lot of the times, it is not about the singular issue at all. It is about the big picture. When Article 370 in our country was revoked in the Kashmir, internet services were banned. Any kind of human interaction, more than 3 people, 4 people, groups were not allowed, and totally people were asked to shut down and live, and so many of Kashmiri politicians were under house arrest. Now, when all of this happened, there were so many people who went on to say that this is human right violations, but at the same time, there were so many people who were trying to say that, listen, if there is any way you can avoid the bloodshed and the chaos that Kashmir will endure when Article 370 is revoked, you have to take away a few rights. Only then you can deal with the situation. Okay, now, what does it mean? That for the greater good, you are letting go of your morals and values slightly? What do they say? The end justifies the means? I don't know. But what we do know is that the bigger picture. Now, as much as you'd like to criticize, say, a country like Japan for having such a very, very hardcore law which says illegal immigrants, being fat is illegal. But even after that, you also are very proud of this country, which is giving the universal healthcare model, giving very, very good treatments, being absolutely amazing in the way it's providing its healthcare, research and its diseases. So somewhere it feels justified, it feels It feels like, okay, this is also to try and instill in the minds in a good positive way that, okay, you know what, you can't be doing this. Like, maybe the banning of junk food, it might seem mean to a few people, but few people might see it as a boon to healthcare system. So it's debatable. But China, China is very famous for its communist policies. Well, it is the Communist Party of China that's ruling it, and it's practically the only ideology the country follows. Communist talks about stateless, country talks about property that's owned everything by the government. But interestingly, that country also opened up foreign, asking foreign people to invest there, and it's almost one of the biggest and one of the first countries that almost invented the concept of FDI, foreign direct investments, and that saw a huge boom, economic progression in that country. So a lot of the times we are asking ourselves, for the greater good, is certain bad decisions which hurt a few people's sentiments or which hurt a few people directly matter? Now, the answer for this question might be different from what I might think, what you might think, what somebody else might think. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of the times, something that might seem wrong today might seem like a masterstroke tomorrow. Something that might seem right today might seem like the biggest problem in the world tomorrow. And what we can do about it is, as much as we can, trying to avoid definitely not taking brutal stands. Obviously, Hitler is an example, man. What did Hitler do? He went on with his cruelty against Jews, but all it led to his own suicide. He killed himself and he died. Now, that's not a great example of being a hardliner that I want to follow, but maybe a Japanese story is great, maybe just pushing a lot more people. This is similar to one of the stories in your school where you're asking yourself that question, whether a teacher pressurizing the student by saying that no, you have to get those 90 marks, otherwise I'll not allow you to be in A section, I will put you into D section. Is it a right kind of ideology? One might say, no, that's a great pressure because that will give, the result is important, we are going in a result oriented approach. Somebody might say, who cares about the result, man? What is the use of result when you've gone through all of this pain and you're still going to be scarred forever? Debatable. Human rights is more important for a country like China, or economic and political might that it is today is important for China? UK, India publicly calling it their threat, their enemy. Is it what the country wants? You have a country like Russia. Every major country has criticized the country for invading Ukraine, but it's just gone about doing its business. What is really morality here? What is really right and wrong here? Well, what really is morality here? Again, does the end justify the means? I don't know, and I'd like to keep it, end it on that enigmatic zone, because I feel like this is a question that all of us need to answer ourselves, and there is no real standard answer here to write an essay here. So I'd like to leave it on that enigmatic note and see what, and I'd like to know what you think about it, and do you really think that end justifies the means? Thank you so much.